Behold, the squash of Butternut.
Welcome to Crocs in the Kitchen.
I am Brian.
And I am Jessica.
Yes, this is a butternut squash video.
Today we're going to do butternut squash 3 ways and 3 product preparations kind of thing. So, yeah. Ideas. You're going to get all kinds of ideas to use a butternut squash because I got really excited. Ideas. You're gonna get so many ideas from this video because ideas. You're gonna get so many ideas from this video because you know those people who go to a grocery store. Raise your hand if you're one of those people in the comments below.
Not one of those people.
You're not one of those people because you hate groceries. Well, you like grocery stores.
I like grocery stores. I don't like shopping the way Jessica shops sometimes.
Anyway, okay, raise your hand if you're one of those people who walks through the store, you see a really fun ingredient that looks really great and it's just in season and you're super pumped to buy it, and then you bring it home and then it sits there and you don't really know what to do with it. Butternut squash is one of those things, I think. So what we're going to do today is show you 3 different ways of prepping it. We're going to show you how to make it into a puree. We're going to show you how to dice it. We're going to show you how to, actually, we're just going to show you a lot of things. But the main 3 ways we're going to show you are 3 different ways to roast it first. And then, you know, it's just, yeah, I don't even know how many ways we're going to show you. It's a lot of ways.
So, after numerous interruptions of Jessica giggling, let's get to prepping.
So we're starting out with 3 whole butternut squash, and we're actually going to show you 3 different methods for how to roast them in your oven. One note is you do want to go ahead and wash all the outsides of your butternut squash since you are going to be leaving the peel on as you roast some of this, and just for cleanliness, it's nice to do that. For the first method, you literally just need the whole squash. So just take the whole dang thing and throw it on a tray that is lined with either a silicone baking mat or some parchment paper, and you're good to go. For the second method, you're going to want a knife. So Brian, of course, grabbed one of his really sharp Kyoku knives that he loves to use. And you're gonna slice off the ends, and that'll just give you a little bit more stability for when you're gonna cut it in half. Just stand it up on one end and then slice it right down the middle. And that's it. You're gonna actually roast it just like that with the seeds and everything in there. So you can go ahead and just put that on your baking tray. So we're just gonna add it to the same baking tray as the other squash, and those are ready to roast. Now this third method is a little bit more complicated, but this is Peep's preferred method of roasting squash. So you're gonna take your squash, you're gonna slice off the 2 ends, and then you're going to peel. It's easier to peel before you actually slice it in half and start doing anything else with it. So go ahead and take a peeler and just very carefully peel off the outer edge of the squash. And at the end, you'll have a little bit of a mess, but with a little bit of Peep magic, you can just clear that up and you're ready to start dicing. Now, Brian had been told that a serrated knife might actually work better, so he tried this serrated knife that we had at our Airbnb. It did not work, so he went back to his trusty Kyoku knife and sliced it in half. But after you slice it in half, you're just going to go ahead and scoop out those seeds, which you really want like a nice flat, thin kind of spoon. He had kind of a thicker spoon for this, so it didn't work quite as well as he had anticipated. But really, you just want to scoop out all those seeds so that you can go ahead and start cutting this up. All right, now there are many different ways that I've seen people do this, but the easiest way we found is to slice the squash approximately in half. You're really trying to get the more rounded part separated from the other kind of more straight part because it'll just give you easier pieces to work with in the end. For the straighter part, it's pretty simple. You literally just are gonna slice this into strips that are whatever width you want your cubes to be, and just work with those as you go. You can pretty much pick whatever size dice you want to go for here. There's really no rhyme or reason. It's just whatever you like. And for these pieces, Brian went ahead and sliced these once more because we were looking for a really nice, consistent cube shape here. Now for the more rounded end, it is going to be a little bit more awkward, but just try to use the same process that you used for the other one. And then when you get these kind of rounded bits, you can just cube them up as close to the size as possible. It's not going to be perfect because this is a rounded thing here. You're not working with a perfectly straight zucchini or anything like that. So this does like intimidate people, but just do your best and it'll all work out. After doing a little bit of work, you are now ready to put this on a tray. So once again, we have another tray lined with our silpat, and we are just going to put all those on there, and then they are ready to roast. So this method does take a little bit more time to prepare in the beginning, but then it's pretty much ready to eat once you're done. So it's kind of a trade-off. Just get them into a nice even layer, and everything is ready for the oven. We have our oven preheated to 375, so we're just gonna go ahead and put these in, and they're all gonna take about 40 to 60 minutes, but we're gonna check on them throughout. But it's kind of one of those things you can just kind of set and forget for a bit and then come back every 20 minutes or so and look at them. The cubed ones are gonna need a little bit of stirring. So again, after 20 minutes or so, go ahead and take those out. Give them a little bit of a stir just so that they evenly cook on both sides and all that, and then you can pop them back in the oven. And for the whole method, I usually let it go for about 30 minutes, and then you can see it gets this nice bubbly outside. Look at that golden brown it's getting on the outside. I usually just kind of give it a flip so that the other side gets cooked evenly as well. And then for the halves, you don't really need to do anything. You just let them keep going. Here we learn about one of the dangers of the whole method. Those things like to roll, and we ended up with a bit of floor squash here. But never fear, this rug was pretty clean, and we just forged on anyway. So I was hoping to present you here with my beautifully roasted squash, and we were trying to place it in different ways to make it look beautiful, but pretty much it was just what you see is what you get. But you know what? It still tastes just as good. So the whole method, again, be careful. Those things like to roll around and you have to balance them pretty nicely. But we were done with the squash. These had just roasted for another maybe 30 or so minutes, and you really just need to keep an eye on them and do a little bit of poking with a fork if you want to see if they're tender. But again, 40 to 60 minutes is the range that I usually find. Now I'm usually only cooking one method at a time, so you don't have so much going on all at once. But it's pretty easy to roast these squash. For the cube method, you can give it a stir as often as you like, but basically what you're looking for again is that fork tender, and you can obviously just pop one in your mouth after it cools down a little bit and see if it is to your liking. So now that we've showed you 3 different ways of roasting the squash, we're gonna move on to preparation. So we're just going to show you some examples. The first one here is the whole squash that, yes, fell on the floor, but we're actually not going to use the peel for this one anyway, so it kind of all worked out in the end. And what we're going to do with this one is puree it. So I find that pureed butternut squash is great in a bunch of different recipes. So I like to just use a spoon and go ahead and scoop it out of the skin, and you can also just kind of, there's a bunch of different methods you can do again with this. Sometimes the skin will just sort of peel off of the outside really easily for you. Sometimes it's a little bit more fussy, but the idea is to get it all into a food processor, and then you can go ahead and just turn that processor on and whip it up until it's into a puree. For the one that we roasted in half, we're going to just go ahead and scoop out those seeds. And I do think it is a little easier, and I'm also using a better spoon here. You can see it's a flatter, more like wide spoon that is really like a soup spoon, and it's a lot easier to get those seeds out at this point. But after we do that, we're going to actually stuff this squash. So we're going to scoop out some more of that interior, and don't, discard it, because we're going to use that interior like that's just all goodness. And we're going to keep it, obviously, to use in the recipe. So the key here is to leave a little bit of that edge. You don't want to remove all of the squash if you're going to stuff it, because you want to have a little bit of a, it's like a nice little bowl. It's a vessel that's going to hold all your stuffing. So leave a little bit of an edge around the outside and you'll be good to go. For the cube squash, after it's cooled down, toss it into a container, and then you can literally leave it in your fridge, add it to dishes throughout the week, add it to salads, make some bowls out of it like we're gonna do later. And it's very versatile to use in a bunch of different dishes, and it's ready to go and ready to be enjoyed. At this point, we now have a nice pureed squash. We also have a nice squash that is ready to be stuffed with a yummy filling. And then, of course, we have our squash that's just gonna hang out in the fridge and wait to be enjoyed. Of course, as always, for all of the instructions, a photo tutorial, and all kinds of extra information, temperatures, times, and all that, check out the blog post that is linked in the description below.
So there you have it.
Do you always have to say that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. These are all the different things we made with our butternut squash, you guys. We showed you 3 different ways of prepping it, but there were more than 3 ways in there. I don't even know how to count. But the first way that we showed you, we did the whole butternut squash and then we turned it into a puree. We don't have any more of the puree because we've already used it in 2 different recipes that are going to be coming out in the future. One of which is this amazing muffin.
Yeah.
Which, you guys want to get this muffin. The recipe will be coming out soon, and it is delicious. So that's how we use the pureed one. And I have found that pureed butternut squash just makes such a great ingredient for a bunch of different things and experimenting in recipes. Tell them about the second one.
So this second one, we really like a stuffed butternut squash recipe from Avant Garde Vegan.
Yes.
It was brilliant. It was amazing. It was definitely a decadent thing. And so we kind of got the idea, you know what, let's make a slightly healthier version. And this was literally the experiment that we came up with today.
Yes. So we took the one that we sliced in half and then roasted and scooped out, and we took the butternut squash that we scooped out in the middle and added some stuff to it, including our cauliflower poblano queso blanco.
Yep.
Which is just, and mixing that with the butternut squash and then a few more ingredients added in, we're definitely gonna have to do a recipe video for that.
Yeah.
By itself.
Then there's this thing, which is a kale and quinoa roasted butternut salad that I literally threw together about 15 minutes before we started recording this very bit.
Yeah, I was like, we need to use the chopped butternut the diced one.
And when I say that this turned out amazing, I'm not even joking. I took one bite and I did a happy dance, which does not happen that often.
I mean,
with
I
me.
do the happy dance all the time, but he's just like,
This
he's
is-
a little more conservative with
This
his
is
happy dances.
so good. Like, it's ridiculous.
So obviously we're gonna have to do a recipe video for that one.
Yep.
So
So even in the
these-
process of recording this video, we developed 2 other recipes that we now have to shoot videos for.
I'm seriously, like, you guys, you have no idea. Butternut squash, I got on this crazy recipe development kick of my own when I started, like, just experimenting with butternut squash.
It's been
just
awesome.
Yeah. So seriously, show us what you guys can make. Look forward to these recipes coming out and you'll know exactly how to prep them. I hope you learned a lot from this video and you learned how to use up that butternut squash that's just sitting over there on your counter waiting for you to put it in the oven.
Yeah. So get on that Instagram whenever you make something with butternut squash and tag us in there and, like, I don't know, hashtag butternut squash or something like that. Yeah. I made you giggle.
Okay. The other thing is, check out the blog post because I have even more tips and tricks. There's always more information that I can get into the video that's in my little brain. And so the blog is just like all of that always. So check out
the blog is 100% just straight unfiltered Jessica brain.
So check out the blog post that's linked in the description of this video, and then you'll be able to get all of the information about what we did in today's video.
Yeah.
And
that it?
I think that's it.
Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, and click the bell that is right next to that subscribe button, and you will get notified whenever we post a new video, especially for these. You can find us on social media, once again, Facebook and Instagram. You can message me on Facebook. You can message Jessica on Instagram. You can tag us in a bunch of stuff or whatever you want to do on there. We absolutely love that stuff. Also, give this video a like. Send it out to some other people if you are so inclined. And that way we can share the love of butternut squash with everyone else around us. But I think that's all I got.
That's definitely all I got.
We will see you next time on Crocs in the Kitchen. Bye.
It should be #CrocsBrock.